Got it. Well, I want to apologize for these beeps because some of them are really boring. Um,
I,
I've gotten in touch with the banality of, I don't know if it's when I choose to put on the beeper or what, but anyway,
well, I would say two things about that. I would say most people find their beeps boring.
is that true?
Yes.
Interesting.
And I generally don't find beeps boring that other people find boring. Sometimes they're boring, but most of the time, what's boring to one person, like maybe you, would not necessarily be boring to me because it's the kind of thing that you do all the time, but it's not the kind of thing that I do all the time. And so I'll let you know whether I find them boring.
Okay. I'll see if you're falling asleep.
Right. But the
Anyway,
chances are good I won't find them boring. That's
yeah,
that's really what I was trying to say, sort of in jest. But
good. All right, I won't apologize. So I did 3 yesterday and 4 or 5 today. So I'm going to do the fresher ones.
okay.
The first one today, uh, during my morning meditation session, I put on the beeper and my mind had wandered off the breath to plans and my to-do list for the day. Um, right before the beep, I'm remembering that I booked a walk with a friend, my friend Dacker, for 4 p.m. At exactly the moment of the beep, uh, I am thinking where to go. It's been very rainy here, and most of the trails I can think of are going to be really muddy. And at the beep, I've concluded, and I don't say this to myself, but I think it to myself, we should go to Inspiration Point, which is a place up in Tilden Park, which has a paved trail. Um, this is mostly a wordless sort of internal debate um, with, concepts like hike, trail, rain. I'm just kind of moving around these blocks um, and then come to that conclusion. But there is a moment, there is an image that sort of flashes right around the time of the beep or before the beep. And that is a picture of the trail there. Um, a flat segment showing the asphalt paving. And that sort of kind of solidifies oh yeah, this is definitely where we should go. So I would describe it as unsymbolized with the exception of that brief image, which was a companion to an earlier image long before the beep of a muddy trail. I mean, long, seconds of a muddy trail. Interestingly enough, from a different angle.
So is there a sequence involved here? Or is all these things happening sort of at the same time? Or is that question not possible to answer?
Well, some of this internal debate, precedes the beep by a few seconds.
Okay.
At the moment of the beep, I've settled it, and we're going to Inspiration Point. Um,
So let's focus on that portion first, and then we can talk about the rest
okay,
later. So at the moment of the beep, what gets caught in flight by the beep is inspiration
let's go to
point.
Inspiration Point. It sort of solves the problem.
Okay.
It's like conclusion. It's conclusive,
And that I'm understanding is not in words.
right?
So the
I
word
don't remember any particular words.
including the word inspiration point.
Yeah, because I mean, I just know it so well.
Okay.
I don't feel like I have to say it to myself.
So what gets caught in flight by the beep is the conclusion. Let's go to inspiration point. And implied in that, sorry about that. Implied in that is what's going to have a concrete trail or a paved trail and not muddy and whatever. But
Yeah, at
that's
some point, very close to the beep is this image that I see a asphalt paved straight stretch of trail. Interestingly, from a perspective not on the trail. In other words, I don't see it in front of me. I see it from the side, a place where I don't know how you would be there, but so it has a perspective.
And do you think that the seeing of the asphalt trail, is that come and gone, done over and done with before the actual
Yeah,
beep begins?
yeah. It's shortly before the beep.
Okay.
It kind of, having seen that, I could imagine, okay, there's a place you could take a hike today.
Okay. So what I would say is that at the moment of the beep is the conclusion. We're going to go to inspiration point. Let's go to inspiration point. Inspiration point would be better. Something like that. But none of that is in words.
No,
But
I mean, I very specifically asked myself that question right when it happened. And it was like, no, it was just one of the, I don't know if it was a concept or what, but there were no particular words attached to it.
okay.
I find
And
when something's very familiar that I don't bother doing that, translating into words. I've been to Inspiration Point a million times. It's just sort of a thing, an option that doesn't even need to be articulated unless I'm talking to somebody.
okay. And I'm gathering that the rest of the considerations, it's been raining, it's muddy, whatever, that's before the moment of the beep. Maybe not much before the moment of the beep, but a second or two.
Yeah, no, I mean there's a sequence here that just happened to be caught at that moment, but there was this back and forth decision, deliberation that we caught at the end with the beep
Okay.
when it was resolved. But before it was like, oh, where are we going to go? It's really raining. The trails are all going to be wet. And I'm picturing a muddy trail. But yeah.
So the distinction that I want to be as clear as I can about is that all of those things that we just decided, that you just listed are actually slightly before the beep.
Yeah.
And it's the conclusion, inspiration point. We're going to go to inspiration point. Let's go to inspiration point. That conclusion, unworded but understood, is what gets caught by the beep. Then I'm happy with that.
I've been through this process a lot more alert to whether there are words involved or not. And it was pretty clear to me there weren't. And it was very interesting to see how you could have a thought process that involved a deliberation without that you could have these kind of, I think of them as concepts that, without words attached, that you could manipulate them and come to some sort of resolution. But as I said, there were two images in the midst of this deliberation. So wasn't entirely.
But I'm gathering those are over and done with by the moment of the beep.
Yeah, just in the case of the image of the paved path.
So I'm voting in favor of not discussing those further because they're not caught by the beep.
Yeah,
no, not caught exactly. And I am sort of picky about that in the sense that in my head, whether this is true in the regular world or not, but in my head, there's only really one moment that is definable, and that is the moment, and even that's not perfectly definable, but there's one best definable moment, and that's the moment that is caught by the rise of the beep. Every other moment you can say, well, it's a little bit before, and what a little bit before means is maybe a second, maybe a couple of seconds, but I'm not really sure. I don't know where those times really are. And so.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of seconds. And the other thing the beep is doing is, of course, alerting me to the fact that I'm not doing what I should be doing in my meditation. And so.
But that's after the beep.
It's all after the beep. And I'm just saying, oh, yeah, you shouldn't be thinking about this now.
and some people accuse me of saying I got a magical beep or whatever, but that is the magic of the beep, that the beep calls attention from the outside to say, this is the moment that we're interested in. And to the extent that that's
Yeah, you
magic,
would never pick it yourself.
right? On to number two.
Um, okay, I'm on a morning walk with Judith. She's talking to me. We're around the corner on a nearby street. She's talking to me about buying some cushions for the new chairs in the dining room, which we both agree are too low relative to the table. At the beep, I'm saying aloud to her with some foam in them so they give some lift. And at the same time, so that's what the beep caught. I am imagining, not picturing, but imagining the sensation of sitting down in a chair that's too low. That sense of slight deflation you get when you realize I've sat in a chair and I don't like the relationship to the table. And I can feel it. So I'm feeling that this is a good idea, but I'm concerned that we could buy cushions that don't really help. So we need something with a little substance to them. So obviously words, they're allowed. She understood what I said. But what was interesting to me was the fact that at the same moment I was feeling what annoys me about the chairs.
So let's talk about the feeling first. Well, I guess I should ask. So which is more prominent to you, would you say? The feeling of the...
Well, in inner experience, it's all the feeling.
Okay. Then let's just go for that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like this is what it's like to sit down in the chairs as they now are. And it feels awkward. Your arms are too high against the table. And, but I feel that moment of settling into that chair. It's very distinct. And it doesn't feel good.
And is this a bodily thing or a mental thing?
It's a bodily thing. It's definitely a bodily thing. When your ass lands in a chair and it's not where you expect it to be, you're kind of like, you have this sense of not falling exactly, but not being where you want to be in space.
So let's presume for the moment that I'm like Mr. Spock and I don't have any of these feelings like you humans got, and so it's not fair to say you know what it's like when you sit in a chair, because I don't have that sensation. So what I would like to know is what your sensations were like, as best you can describe them, at the moment of the beep. Not when you're sitting in a chair, but when you're at the moment of this particular beep.
Well, I correlate the feeling with what I'm saying, and that they're both caught at the moment of the beep. Judith started this conversation about the inadequacy of these chairs, and she's proposed this fix. And I guess I don't know if what I'm feeling is the chairs as they are now, or the chairs as they would be if she got an insufficiently cushioned cushion. But I'm picturing sitting down. I guess now I think it is with the cushions, with bad cushions. And it's still like, maybe because they don't have any resistance. And in my imagination, they're going to let me, sink to the almost the same level as the chairs would. And that, I guess I'm imagining the first time that I would sit in these new cushions and how it would feel. It's definitely a feeling in the body. It's not just in your butt, but it's your torso. And I think it's the sensation you have of your arms not being where they should be on a table, that you're a little kid, and you know how little kids sit at a table, and I don't know how it feels to them, but it looks like it feels awkward.
So is that to say that I feel my arms too high, or is it to say in my imagination somewhere, but not so much in a feeling of it, I understand it's too high, and I understand it's like a kid would be, and I understand that stuff. So the
Yeah, no,
question,
but I do feel it. It's sort of like a, and this is going to be theoretical, but it's a mirror neuron thing that like I can, when I imagine something like this, I can rehearse it in my, I mean, I do feel it in my body. Um, there's a brief digression. There's a runner, one of these guys who likes to run barefoot, and he just has these little things over his feet that give no cushion at all. And he's an older guy, and he runs by. And when he runs by and I see him and his feet coming down, I feel it in my legs. It feels awful. I just can't look at this guy. So it's a sympathetic thing. So I guess I'm accustomed to that sort of, even if it's an imagination, even if I'm not even imagining myself, but someone else, that there's a bodily discomfort that I feel.
okay. So the dilemma, what makes this work interesting and difficult and whatever, is I guess the extent, in this particular example, the extent to which you feel it and the extent to which you know what that feeling is like. So I would say in your digression about the runner,
Mm-hmm.
your description was more vivid than your description about the sitting. And so now I got to figure out, well, what's the deal with that? Is that because the sitting wasn't really all that bodily vivid, but now he's remembering?
No, it's a much stronger feeling when I watch that runner.
Mhm.
And also I've done it many times. There's like a circuit already about that guy. It's like, ugh, here he comes. This is less objectionable. This is an annoyance. That feels painful.
So I'm not so much interested in the annoyance or the painfulness. What I'm interested in is the degree to which this you experience at the moment of this beep and no other time. The only time that I'm ever interested in really is the moment that's interrupted by the beep. Is is that an in my body feeling, or is that, well, there's a constellation of things going on. I'm talking about this, I'm remembering that, I'm thinking about that other aspect, I'm thinking about kids, I'm thinking about whatever. And out of that constellation, I can say, well, it's sort of like when your body slumps down or whatever it is you said. And that seems like it's sort of a different thing from saying, at the moment of this beep, I was feeling my body slumping down.
No, at the moment of this beat, the first thing I recorded was not the slump. It was the words I was saying. And I was saying we better get one that has some real cushion. And while I was saying that, I wasn't looking at her. I was in front of her. She was behind me, close by. As I was saying it, I had this sensory image, if you will. And, it wasn't so powerful or anything, but it was distinct.
Okay. And then about the words. So I'm saying something about
With
sitting
some foam in them so
with
they
some
can
foam in
give
there.
some lift.
Right.
That's what I recorded.
And and the fact that you're saying those doesn't necessarily mean that you experience them at all. It's possible that you would be into the sensory image and the words would just be coming out of your mouth. Or it's possible that you could be sort of concentrating on the words. or it could be that
Yeah.
neither one.
They didn't take a lot of concentration, but I would say the words were more present to me than the sensation.
Okay.
If the
So,
sensation was so strong, I might have shared it with Judith, and I didn't.
okay.
What?
Well, the complication, if you had said, this is not a strong feeling, but I feel it in my arms, say, that would have sort of convinced me that this was a bodily sensation that I feel in my arms. But instead of saying that, then you say, well, it's sort of like a kid when their arms are up. But that's about a kid's arm, not about my arm. And
Yeah, but you feel like you're sitting at the kids' table or something. Whenever you sit at one of these chairs and it's too low for you, there is a kind of sense of regression that, this isn't, I'm not at the, or I'm a kid at the adult table or something like that. It's just funny feeling. I don't know. It wasn't the first time I've ever felt this. And I have sat in these chairs and I hate sitting in them and I avoid them whenever I can. But so I felt it in my arms and I did feel it in my butt. This it's that surprise of finding yourself where you don't expect to find yourself in space. Oh,
so where to find myself in space and I feel it in my butt seem like two pretty different things to me.
really?
And that is, I think our conversations have been trying to figure out what we're talking about to each other about this sort of all the way along. I think that's what the deal is. So if I were going to say about a feeling in my butt, I could say, I feel my butt bones hitting the chair or something. And if I were talking like that, I would say, well, that's definitely a feeling in the butt. But if I say, well, I feel it in my butt, it's like my body is in space, then it's no longer about a sensation in my butt. It's about a relationship rather than a sensation, which
A
no doubt
relationship.
starts with some kind of sensation in this neuron or that, but it's not. I would say it doesn't seem to be directly apprehended as a sensation, so much as it is as a it seems like sort of a lot of stuff, kid stuff and body stuff and butt stuff, all
Well,
that stuff. Yeah.
I'm looking for analogies to explain the sensation. It's not like, burning your finger or, hurting yourself or landing on the floor. It's all you're doing is sitting down in a chair and you have this whole set of expectations of how it should feel relative to the table, relative to your, where your butt is in space, and it's off and it feels awkward. But you need your body to have that sense of awkwardness. It's not a purely mental thing.
Okay. I'm thinking we should go on to number 3.
Okay.
And I want to emphasize in the questions that I'm asking, I'm not being in the slightest critical. I'm trying to be honest on my side of the conversation here.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
All right.
Okay, this is one of the boring ones. So I'm at my desktop I'm at my desk, looking at my desktop computer this morning between tasks, deciding what I need to do next. I take a glance at my Gmail queue, and I see that a transcript that I was having made of an interview I did with somebody is ready. And I'm thinking, at the moment of the beep, I should really edit that transcript. It was like, I don't enjoy editing transcripts. It's very painstaking. But, and this was not spoken either. It was a kind of obvious concept. And the idea of transcript and the woman I was interviewing, I mean, those were all present to me as part of the idea, but they were not spoken or visualized. So it's kind of experientially thin.
So when you say the woman was present to you, do you mean the woman of this transcript in the sense that?
Yeah, this is the interview with so-and-so.
My question is not whether you know it's so and so. I'm presuming that you do know it's so and so. The question is whether it's I gotta edit this transcript, or should really edit this transcript. And it doesn't really matter in the thinking of that whose transcript it is. It's attached
to her.
So there's something in particular about let's call her Emily's transcript. I got to edit Emily's transcript.
Yeah, it's the only one in my queue, but the concept of this transcript has her attached to it in my head.
Okay. So it's not just a generic transcript. It's the transcript of this particular interview with that particular person. Okay. And there are no words involved, but the words that you use to describe it use the word really. I should really edit that transcript. Is that sort of indicate that this thought process is, I got to do it, it's been there?
Yeah, it's overdue. It's not something I'm looking forward to. I finished everything else I had to do. It's unavoidable.
So that's all some of the...
Although I did manage to avoid it.
That's all some of the sort of the implication of in this thought process.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gathering this is entirely cognitive, or is that not right?
Yeah, no, I don't hear or pronounce her name or visualize it. I certainly don't see the transcript. It's not like I'm hectoring myself to do something, like talking to myself, because I'm not. It's just like, oh yeah, I got to do this.
And how about feeling? Is there feeling involved?
No particular strong feeling, except, it's not, I'm not looking forward to it. It's not exciting. It's just, it's something to cross off your to-do list.
And is that to say there's probably some tone to this, but I'm not, I'm more interested in the doing of it than the feeling of it.
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, there was an affect attached to it, and the affect was, oh yeah, I got to do this. Approaching a task, taking out the garbage or something, just not something you're excited about, but you have to do.
Okay.
And it wasn't exciting.
Number 4.
This is a half hour later. I'm down in the kitchen downstairs. I've gone down to rewarm my coffee in the microwave. While those seconds tick off, I'm thinking, I'd like a snack. Maybe some nuts. The word snack kind of hit with the beep. And the word was present to me as a word. And I am, and at the very moment I'm saying snack, I'm also moving toward the pantry to see what I can find. And somewhere in there is maybe I should have a handful of nuts. But I don't think that was right on the beep. But the word snack was. I mean, the word snack was front and center. I could hear it. I could, it was very present as a word.
And present as a heard word or as a spoken word or both? Or let me back up.
I have so much trouble with that question.
Let me ask it a little different way. As a voiced word, whether your voice or somebody else's voice. So let me back up away from that question. Word, maybe we've talked about words. Words can be present just as a word without any voice at all. Word can be spoken, it can be heard, it could be seen. There's a lot of different ways that
it's interesting. I don't hear it spoken. I don't feel like I'm more like I'm speaking it if anyone is. I'd like a snack. But it's I don't know, it's very clear as a word, but yeah, I'm not sure I can tell you if I guess I'm speaking it, I'm not hearing it. It's not some voice from somewhere else saying, go have a snack. Usually that voice is saying, don't have a snack.
So the distinction is, an important distinction is between speaking it and just having that word present.
Yeah.
A word can be entirely specifically, even with inflection and tone or whatever, present, but not experienced as either spoken or heard. But I'm not saying that's what it is.
But it's not an image either. I'm not seeing it, not
right.
A sign or anything.
Right. But I'm saying, but even with that set aside, it's possible to experience snack as a word, not just as a concept, but as a word.
Yeah.
Even though that concept, even though that word is not spoken, heard, seen, written, and yet the word is undeniably there.
Yeah, I would say that's it. I mean, I don't think I've heard it. I don't think I heard it. I don't think I said it. But this is what I was doing in search of a snack.
And then we have been speaking about this as if it were a word. And that could mean that it is, in my experience, just a single word, snack. Or it could be that what was present to me in words was I should have a snack, or I'd like to have a snack, or something in those words, and the beep happens to get me at the word snack. And those are two experientially, at least possibly experientially different things.
I mean, before this, I had I want something to eat as soon as I turned on the microwave. And then it was, I don't know. The word snack was not attached to a sentence, though. I don't recall it as being, I'd like a snack. But that was the concept. So what I said in my notes at the time was the word snack seemed front and center. But it was preceded by, I wonder if there's something good to eat in the pantry. It's weird. I don't always use the word snack either.
So what is before the footlights of consciousness, which in this case I'm understanding as being snack, is I think we think of ourselves, people think of themselves as being logical or whatever, and you get thought processes or whatever, which I don't think is true. I think of people as being multi-processors in a lot of different kinds of ways. So I think there's sometimes some processor, and I don't have any idea what that processor is, that throws up this word snack, and I experience it. And sometimes it throws up words that come out in sequence, and I feel myself as speaking them, in which case I have to have the word thrower-upper and the speaking apparatus throwing upper, throw upper, whatever we're going to say about that, happening in sync, so that the words come out more or less.
See, I think in this case, the word snack is somewhat self-critical to attach this to what I'm, that I'm hungry, I want something to eat. I mean, we're not supposed to snack. We're, and I do it without being hungry. In other words, um, it's what I do when I go downstairs to heat up my coffee. It's like I get a couple nuts or a fig or a date or something. And so by calling it a snack, in a sense, I'm calling my attention to the fact that I'm acting in a not necessarily, good way. And do I mean, I should be asking myself, are you really hungry before I reach for some nuts? So it seems to me elevating the word snack was a way of slowing this automatic process and calling attention to what I was doing and raising some questions about whether I should be doing it. So those concepts are in the word snack for me. Mealtime, between meal snacks, there's a whole negative association with snack. There's a little bit of, I don't know, sarcastic tone to it.
So the question at this moment for me, I guess, is, and so we've been having conversations about context and directly apprehended experience or something like that. So the question is whether this is context creeping into our discussion. And so what was present at the moment of the beep was just the word snack. And now, after having thought about it a little bit, we can say, well, I got this intonation or coloring or whatever that has the self-critical piece of it. And the question is whether that's there at the moment of the beep or whether that is sort of overlaid as the result of the conversation.
Yeah.
Or maybe that distinction isn't possible to make for some people.
Yeah, I think that to me that context or that explains why it would be highlighted the way it was. And not just a word in a sentence or a concept, but it was a little bit up in lights, snack. And I think that had something to do with the inflection about eating when you're hungry or not hungry.
Yeah, that is a good example of the difference, where I would say the difference between context and experience, because to say in my directly apprehend, I'm experiencing the word snack, which seems somewhat up in the lights, seems somewhat more present to me than it should be. That would be a description of experience.
Yeah.
And then the context would be sort of the explanation of that.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that snack's not a good deal and I'm trying to lose weight or whatever.
Right.
And but that wouldn't be present directly.
No, all that wasn't present at the moment, but it's the reason that snack was present.
Right.
And that's a real distinction.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is the word snack is present to me in sort of relief, I guess you could say. It stands out somehow. But that word is not spoken, and not, or if it's anything, it's spoken, but it's not clearly spoken, and it's not clearly in a voice. Maybe it's spoken, but somehow that word is there, perhaps spoken.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm just not sure about that.
Okay. And the rest of the stuff, I'm waiting for the coffee. That's a fact of the universe, but that's not in my experience.
No, but part of my experience is I've set a path for the pantry. I could be opening a drawer where there's some snacks and there's a pantry and I'm on my way there. at the moment of the beep.
Excuse me.
And
And
that's in
is
my experience. I mean,
and
I
it
see the pantry door. I'm going to reach for the handle. I haven't yet.
and so is it the case that my experiences of the door or my experiences of the snacks that I'm heading towards that are behind the door?
You know, heading to the pantry is just such a routine. It's one of those things you do without any kind of cognitive work. It's very automatic. So the word snack was definitely more in the footlights than pantry.
Okay.
But I was caught, in the midst of making that move by the beat.
Okay. And we have at times distinguished between bodily doing certain kinds of things that are inexperienced and they're just happening. And we've used the example of your elbows are on your chair or whatever right now,
Or
and
typing, yeah.
right, and you're not experiencing that before the footlights of consciousness. It's there. I'm doing it. And the question is whether the heading towards the pantry is more
I would
directly
say it's more
apprehended.
automatic. I mean, it's nothing I would have noticed except I was writing down what I was doing at that moment.
Okay.
It got
Good.
preserved in a way it wouldn't have gotten preserved
Okay.
because that's where I was during the beat.
Then I would say we ought to go on to the next one. Is this going to be the last one from today? Is that
No, that's all from today.
okay?
There's one more from today that's just, well, I'll give it to you. There's a more interesting one from yesterday. Okay, so right before this walk where we had the cushion discussion, I'm stepping outside to take a walk with Judith. She's already outside. I don't know exactly where she is. I come outside at the moment of the beep. I'm surprised to find her coming toward me from the right, which is where our front door is. And she has an armload of mail and a package from Amazon. And I'm perplexed. I mean, the experience is of like a question mark. And she obviously sees that and says, they left the mail by the front door, maybe because of the rain. So the postman had taken upon himself, because we had so much rain, to instead of leaving the mail in the box, to put it on the side porch, and she's bringing it. But this is a very uncommon event. So I'm just perplexed to see her with mail. And I'm remembering too, there was no mail last night, and this explains it. So at the moment, I'm mostly like, huh? I just feel like a question mark. Uh, as I came out, I guess this is a second or two before that beep, but I was aware of this nice, cool, wet air on my face.
But that's before the beep.
Yeah, but I've just stepped outside. I see her with all this mail, and where I don't expect to see her, and what's going on?
And so is your perplexedness specifically aimed at the mail or not at the direction? It's not that she's coming from here. It's that
Yeah,
she's carrying mail, or is it that she's coming from here and carrying mail both together?
yeah. I think it's both. It's just an anomalous scene.
Okay. And how does this, what we're calling perplexed, present itself to you?
Um, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, what's going on? Why? It's not a completely articulated thought, but there's something unusual here, and I'm looking to her to explain it.
And
And
that,
she can tell, I think, from my face that I have a question, and so she's offering, yeah, they must have put it on the side porch because of the rain.
And that experience or that description would imply that this experience on your side is mostly or entirely cognitive. I'm wondering why it's this way. What's it's a wondering kind of a thing, surprise kind of a thing.
Yeah, and again, it's wordless. I don't hear any words. I don't see any words. I see a punctuation mark. I
Okay.
mean, I don't really see it, but I feel like a punctuation mark. I mean, I
Okay.
just kind of like
And
wondering.
the fact of the matter is apparently it induces in me a quizzical expression enough so that Judith sees it. But I'm gathering that so far it's not like I feel a quizzical expression. I feel my eyebrows raise or whatever in my face. It's that I am wondering what the deal is here.
Yeah, I mean, if I were paying complete attention, I would probably think that I had, knitted my eyebrows or something. But I wasn't. I wasn't that level. It was automatic.
Okay. And so this would what I've got here is that I'm I guess what I call it cognitive, but I'm in a thinky kind of a wondery kind of a
Yeah,
this doesn't seem
mystery to be
usual,
unpacked.
right? As opposed to being shocked or
Yeah, no, it wasn't that strong. It was like, hmm?
Mhm.
It was just a minor wrinkle in reality, not a big one.
And apprehended mentally rather than bodily, and from your standpoint of your experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely, all mentally. The physical sensation I described was contextual. I mean,
Okay.
because I just stepped outside.
Okay. Then I'm good with that. To yesterday's beeps.
Yeah, let me give you one of yesterday's. There are two that were interesting to me because I was um, writing, and I was writing a sentence, and it's really about this issue we've been talking about words, whether we think in words or not. And when the beep caught me, there was a clause in this sentence um, where I say something like, we're constantly translating our thoughts into words. And I'm looking at it when the beep happens. And I'm going through this process that is part of writing, which is a lot of editing. Is this true? Can I cut it? Should I cut it? And I came out, cut it. And I guess it was interesting because even though it was about words, the process, the beep was on cut it, cut it. I should cut it. That I was dealing with these words in a non-verbal way. And that there's this kind of, writing, I mean, you write lots of papers, that there's this um, yes no process about a sentence, an idea, true false, fair unfair. There's that binary digit that I go through in editing, and this caught me in the middle of one of those. um, and what interested me about it was that I didn't register those words as heard or spoken. I didn't have to hear the word cut. I just knew it's either thumbs up, thumbs down. So, and it's almost like this thought tool that you use every day when you're writing that doesn't really require a complicated or verbal expression. Um, so I didn't register the words "should I cut" as spoken or not. but it's just kind of this side, this side. They're two, I don't know, two things I was balancing.
So I guess I got a couple of questions. One is this about a clause we're constantly
We're constantly
translating.
translating our thoughts into words.
And is that directly present to you at the moment of the beep, or is that just the object of this thought
That's
process?
the object of the thought.
Okay. And and so the thought process is when you so is the thought process about whether this is true or not, or whether I should cut it or not?
It's
Those seem like
those two. I'm dealing with those two parameters at the same time, or it
okay.
felt that way. I couldn't distinguish which was. Although I think the beep was on the cut question, but the reason I could cut it, or felt I should cut it, is I'm not really sure it's true.
Okay.
We write down sentences that we think are true, and then we evaluate them.
Right. I'm not criticizing the method at
Yeah,
all.
no,
I
no.
understand about
Method's
that.
a strong word for it, but I mean
But
so it acquainted me with a process that I hadn't thought about before. That it's like, you know, uh, it's red green. It's just binary.
so is the binary is this experientially a binary process? Because it seems to me it could be more complicated than binary. So I want to know whether the binariness is part of it. So it could be, well, it's true, but I don't, but it's unnecessary. I should cut it anyway.
Yeah, there could be other reasons to cut it, but in this case, if I don't feel confident it's true, I definitely have to cut it. So
So true and keep and not true or not confidently true and cut are the two parts of the
yeah,
binary.
yeah.
And I'm understanding that this
But
is
I'm also evaluating whether I mean, I could revise it too to make it more true, but I realize it can just go. I'm trying to be tough.
Mhm. And this process I'm understanding is taking place with no words really whatsoever. Not really words, or not at all words for sure in the cut it or not cut it portion, although what's happening is it's in the cut it
There are words
version.
in the object, obviously, the whole debate, but that's what I found. Huh. Even though I'm dealing with words here, I'm dealing with them without words, with tools that are not verbal.
Okay, so I think I got that portion, and the part that I'm trying to clarify is the thing that you're dealing with is in words, but that does not mean that those words are present to me at the moment of the beep. They're not, they're obviously present in my neural network, whatever that is, in my
Well, I'm
mind.
evaluating them, so they were in my recent memory, but
Yeah,
yeah, they're
but
not present.
not necessarily in your recent memory as words. It could be that your recent memory is dealing with the concept that's expressed by these words. So,
Yeah,
which is different from the words. So
that's
my
true.
question is whether the words in the we're constantly translating our thoughts into words, whether that stream of words is present or not. Because it could be that the whole thing takes place without words, even though I'm analyzing a
Words.
worded stream.
Yeah. No, I think I'm aware of the words and as well as the concept.
Okay. You don't sound too sure about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not. It was just a interesting, peculiar experience because I hadn't really focused on this part of the process. And but there are two steps, right? You play the sentence to yourself and then you interrogate it with these questions. So, but I mean, at the moment of the beep, if we're defining it really, a crisp, clear slice, it was, the cut, not cut, cut. So, there you could say the sentence is context.
That's sort of how I understood it from the get-go. The sentence was more or less mostly context. Okay. So what I've got about that is that the cut it is a sort of is an unworded analytical process, which is going to decide yes or no, and it is in fact in the process of deciding no or deciding
Yeah,
cut it,
it
deciding
could
cut
be
it.
cut or not cut. It could be yes or no. It could be red or green.
But
You know, it was just a concept. Do we go with this or no? We
it's
drop it.
going away.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me. So it's 2:59.
yeah.
We want
I've got two more, but we can skip them. One of them makes the exact same point. It's a very interesting thing about, to me, I was editing a piece of transcript, and you know when you're editing transcript, you're faced with, you can be perfectly faithful and make the person sound like an idiot because they don't speak grammatically, or you clean it up. How much can you clean it up
it's a dilemma.
without, being unfair? So it was another one of those binary writing moments. It was very similar. And the other one I'll do really quickly is purely sensory.
Okay.
I'm having lunch yesterday. I'm moving a slice of toast from the cutting board where I buttered it to my plate, and I'm holding it by the crust. And I feel the first two fingers on my right hand are really hot, and they're hurting from the heat of the crust of the toast. And when the beep comes, it's like, ow, and I'm surprised it's still so hot. It didn't just come out of the toaster. That's it. It was not articulated. Um, it was cognitive in that there was some, I was expressing some surprise at the fact of it, or feeling some surprise.
So is it that there are two aspects of your experience going on at the same time? One is I feel hotness on my fingers, or is that gone and been replaced by this sticky kind of a thing? I'm
No,
surprised it's so
I
hot.
still feel it. It's very hot. It's like, and then I'm thinking, this is surprising.
Okay.
This crust is a good conductor of heat.
Okay. And is one of those things more present to your more in the footlights than the other? The heat, the
I think the
hot heat
pain was.
by 60-40 or 90-10?
Yeah, no, it was close, 60-40.
Okay. And then and is there much more to say about that other than my fingers feel hot?
No. Um, and there was this sense of surprise.
Okay.
And I'm moving as fast as I can to drop it on the plate.
And the surprise, the sense of surprise, it's still hot, I take to be a sort of an analytical, cognitive process. It's not just a noticing of hotness, it's a comparing the expectation of how hot it still is to what the laws of physics should be or whatever.
Yeah,
that
is it.
Okay. And how specific is that thinking? Is it just a registration of surprise, or is it that it's still hot or something analytically that gets you to the still portion of it?
Yeah, it didn't go that deep. Didn't last that long. As soon as I dropped it, my fingers were okay. So it's just like, oh, this is surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have thought that, after you've taken the toast out of the toaster, put it down on a cutting board, buttered it, that it would still be so hot at the edges. So, but no, it wasn't. I didn't go much further than that.
So is that what you just described, which is a pretty detailed thing? Is that all somehow present to you as being surprise is still hot? I've been through this action and it's still hot?
No, I didn't go that deep. I mean, had there not been a beep and I was not making notes about this absolutely trivial occurrence in life, I probably wouldn't have gone past surprise. So
Okay.
since I was writing it down, the follow-up question is, why am I surprised? Well, because it'd be one thing if I'd just taken it out of the toaster, but it's already been out of the toaster for a minute. Um, so that's an artifact of the process, I think.
And I would say surprise could be thought to be a feeling, and it could be thought to be a thought. That distinction
Yeah,
makes sense to you?
yeah. I mean, anytime you burn yourself or you suddenly, have some sort of unpleasant sensation, there's a surprise, I guess, unless you've decided you want it, the feeling. But I think it was more cognitive.
Hmm.
The feeling was just pain.
And in the fourth or fifth week or something like that, you were perplexed, I think, as we used the word,
Yeah.
but it seems like we could have used surprise. I was surprised to see my wife coming from that direction holding the mail. So
Yes, it's a
are
different
these
kind of surprise.
okay? In what way are they different?
There was there was a mystery, an explanation that I was after with Judith. So it was, I mean, in a sense, the heat surprise, there is a question, like, why is it so? But I wasn't interested in the question. I was just surprised at the phenomenon. Whereas with Judith, I was surprised but curious. So there was a two steps, it was a surprise with a question mark. I didn't go, huh, with the toast. It was more like, um, that's surprising.
Okay, then I think I'm good.
Told you it wasn't that scintillating.
Very interesting. It is interesting.
Anyway, Russ,
So,
I'd love to chat on Monday a little bit about what I've learned and what we've learned from this process so far. And uh, I think I want to pause it and see if I can sit down and write a little bit about it.
okay.
Um, but after we talk on Monday, you know, maybe there are good reasons to continue. Maybe there's more to be learned that I'm not aware of. So we can talk about that.
All right,
Make
sounds like a
sense?
plan. Thank you,
Great.
sir.
Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.